Welcome to the most insane modded Valheim you will ever see. From seasons that actually impact the world to dramatic terrain generation in a world full of insane 5-star creatures and bosses, along with the deep north and even the chance for PvP when it matters most. Welcome back to Season 2 of the modded series. Before we get started, I'm currently trying to reach 2,000 subscribers, so if you could help me get there, that would mean a lot to me because we are getting so close. And thank you guys so much for the support on the series. Last episode we got started, we got our first boss killed, a decent amount of little progress into the Black Forest, and moved over towards Elder, but in the process, Jake ended up stealing some chitin, though he was pretty much overweight when he did it, so he really didn't get anything and neither did I, putting us both at a loss and the inability to gain an Abyssal Razor at this point in the playthrough. However, I am over here. I have a little base set up by Elder, if you really want to call it that. I have my fine wood bow, and really all I need to do is get my final preparations ready so I can head to Elder and do it before Jake gets too close, hopefully while he's going to find a base location, because from the sounds of it, that's what he's doing now. However, I will say from the really quick start that I had, it does feel like things are flipping into Jake's favor, and while this entire series is not focused on PvP, there is quite a bit of focus on the competitiveness between me and Jake to keep ahead of the other person, or at least to keep with them in the progression of the series, as well as the building and everything like that. Once we start building, we'll probably be competing to see which build we like more and all sorts of different stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. I have pretty much everything ready. I have a decent amount of like okay food, and I can make some more when I get over there if I really want to. All I really need is ancient seeds. I've put everything else in my chests before I left so Jake couldn't take any of it if he killed me, but I did forget the ancient seeds in my chests, and I'm almost down to Elder, so I'm just gonna pick up more if I can on the way there and hopefully clear out the area. And then I'm gonna look around just real quick. I'm not gonna go too far out to look if Jake has a portal around, because if he does, not that I'll break it, but you know, maybe I could build him into a building or something like that to where he can't get out if he doesn't have a ward around it. That way he cannot interrupt my Elder fight. But otherwise, if I don't see anything, we're gonna get a bed down over here in case stuff goes south, get everything like absolutely sure that I have it ready, and then I think we're gonna be ready to start Elder. And as long as we don't get too hard of a modded one, we should be perfectly fine to kill it pretty quickly. Also, while I'm preparing for this, I can talk about it. As soon as I get Elder done and a little bit of iron, the goal, maybe even before I get iron, the goal is going to be to go find the absolute best building spot that I can. With a decent amount of people on the server, a pretty good building plan in mind, and like I said, there will be a pretty decent focus on people's builds, not necessarily as a competition thing, but maybe we'll have you guys vote on favorite build, especially between me and Jake. Again, not because it means anything, just because, you know, we want to know like what style you guys like and what things you guys like about each build. So there's going to be, alongside the PvP and progression and just me and Jake being competitive assholes to each other in every realm that we get access to in every game that we play. On top of that, we are going to have like some cooperative stuff, some building stuff, and some cool other modded stuff, because like I said, there are a lot of new mods that we put in this one that weren't in last series, and we do need to give those their spotlight at some point when they start to matter a little bit more. So after we get Elder down, and while we're preparing for it, I'm going to try and think of what I need, but ideally I want to try and get as close to as many biomes as I can. I want to get close to a swamp, a mountains, a plains, and even a mistlands if I can. That way, once I get the Elder down, I can build a decent little thing. Also, as I roll up over here to put my bed down, I notice there is a workbench, which means Jake has been over here. I'm not going to look too much for his bed, but the workbench does tell me that he has been over here and that there is likely a portal somewhere. Alright, so back to the building stuff though, while we finish clearing out these great orbs before we fight. The building stuff, I want to build in a Black Forest near every other biome, or in a meadows near every other biome. I don't want to deal with all of the modded stuff constantly attacking my base, but I do need access quickly as we progress through the biomes to be able to just quickly jump to the next one from nearby my base. Even if I have to be right outside of a plains, as long as I'm like up a hill or something like that, or something that's somewhat manageable as far as distance from it, I should be okay. On top of that, like I said, I have a lot of really cool building ideas for what I want to build, but I just gotta find the spot and kind of build my base around the spot rather than trying to come up with it too much beforehand, because if I plan it, likely I'm just going to be disappointed in what I'm trying to do because I can't find the perfect spot for it, so we're going to build it off the spot once we find it. But that is where we're going after we kill Elder, which all we really have to do for that is clear these great dwarfs out, get our stuff ready, eat our food, and we're ready to go. Alright, we were pretty much completely ready to start it, and I have kind of a plan. Jake sounds like he's kind of busy right now, so even if he is or does have a portal and is planning to come sabotage me, if I can get it done really fast with campfires as well as my bow, he might not be able to get over here fast enough to pick anything up or to sabotage me at all. So the plan is to get as much as I can with campfires, kind of like I did with the first boss, run around it as much as I can with my bow, and try and get it down as quickly as I possibly can. We got an enraged one, but it does not have any stars, which which means it's going to be constantly attacking me, constantly raising roots, and causing me a pain in the ass, but it's not going to be too bad for health or anything like that, and it's not going to do damage back to me, which, trust me, later in the series I did figure out is a possibility. But on top of that, yes, again, our main strategy is going to be campfires. It's a good speedrunning strat, but it's also just a really solid strat to put on early damage in a boss fight, especially these first two. So we're going to do that. Like I said, the goal is to get it down as quickly as I possibly can before Jake has any opportunity to interfere. And again, because we have mods that allow me to drop the wood from our campfires, I don't have to get any extra resources. I can just keep picking up these same ones, dodging the vines as well as the attacks from Elder, and then hopefully I'll be able to do this before he gets over here, because he did mention something. As soon as I hit the Elder, he said, "Oh, what are you doing?" So I know he knows that I'm over here. I know he knows exactly where I'm at, and I think he probably assumes that I'm at the same Elder that he found. It's a possibility I'm at a different one, but we're definitely at the same one because I found that workbench. I know he's been over here, so hopefully we get this done before he is, but we're making a lot of progress really quickly.
Yeah, I struggled last time.
Get the fuck out of here, bitch. I'm not fucking blind.
What? He's almost dead. It's free shit.
Fucking hate you.
It's gotta happen sooner than later.
Oh, I know.
Holy shit, there's a lot of shit here. Ah, shit! Who's gonna get it?
Now, while we finish fighting this out, this is the point where I mentioned something very, very important about all of the servers that I play on with my friends. See, there are most of the time no rules or very minimal rules when it comes to this, and as long as you're following within the rule set, people's feelings do not matter. However, you set a precedent for how you will be treated every single time. And while I picked up the head, Jake picked up like 5 swamp keys and I got none of them. And he knew that, and I told him that, and he decided to drop me one out of kindness. Now, he got, because he did come over and steal it, he got to keep a ton of the extras, and if I die, I'm gonna have to come back and do it again, as he will not be in the same boat. I also figured out later that his plan was he came to Elder, put a portal down, and then just left and started going to the swamp, knowing that I would probably come do the same one. He could come back, interrupt it, get a swamp key, head back to his base at the swamp, and be already set up to where he would be able to hit a swamp crypt as soon as I finished Elder, which puts him quite a bit further ahead of me. But on top of this, it is all fun and games. It is very fun. While the actual PvP itself was not that crazy, the thrill of who was going to pick it up, the worry I had seeing him over there with it by himself when it was very low while I was fighting the skeleton, all a lot of stress you don't normally get to feel in Valheim that I really like the feeling of from other games, so it does add a lot of fun stuff. And like I said, he set the precedent of, though he did come and screw me up, which I will keep in mind when he goes to do his next boss fight, he did give me something back so that I could keep progressing alongside him, even though I would be at a slight disadvantage, and he spent his time a bit smarter. So say I interrupt him doing Yagaloth, I take all the stuff off the ground, I will probably give him one, but I will definitely go interrupt him if I see him doing it. That's kind of the precedent that's been set on the server. Like I said, it's a well-known thing between me and all my friends when we play on these, Ark, even we talk about any other games that we play together. Once you do something dumb, it's totally fine, but you set the precedent for how everyone's gonna have to treat each other for the rest of the server, so you should think about it wisely when you do it, and that seems exactly like what Jake did. So, with our one swamp key, as well as our Elder head, which I also agreed to put on the altar since, you know, that was the one thing that I picked up rather than making the weapon with it, I'm gonna head back. I think I have a decent idea of where Jake went, so I'm gonna try and go a slightly different way. That way I don't run into him again for a little bit, and then we're gonna go try and find a base spot down there like I was describing before the Elder. It was not the most successful Elder fight, but other than Jake sabotaging me, which he really didn't kill me, we both were willing to risk our lives there at the end when we had all the Great Orcs around us. It was a pretty epic scene. We both got what we needed out of it. Jake's a little bit ahead now, but we actually killed it really fast, and it was a fun boss fight, so I really can't complain too much. Also, while I head back to Altar, I've already picked up my base and put everything back in the boat. Let's talk about what we're kind of planning on doing after we put this head up. I do need to progress into the swamp and get a little bit of iron stuff, but I'm not as worried about it because I wanted to get at least the stonecutter so I could build stuff. Like I said earlier, actually a main part of my focus other than the PvP is going to be the building section of this because we have a lot of cool building mods. But the only thing I really needed was a stonecutter, so I'm gonna probably get a couple swamp crypts, but I'm not too worried about progressing fully into it. Now, a little bit later I will be because I want to build the iron armor set as my main armor set that I'll upgrade through the entire playthrough. But again, I'm not too worried about it. I want to put a little bit of time into finding a really good base spot that is a little bit distant from Jake, and also finding just a whole bunch of other like resources, getting a farm set up, maybe even some tames, unlikely, but possibly, and just get as many resources as I'm gonna need. I can kind of slowly progress, but I want to slowly progress with a strength and stockpile that's greater than the people that are rushing it. That way, when it comes to them needing to buy something, or it gets to a stressful situation on the server, like I'll talk about in a second, then we will have the stuff stockpiled up. The stressful server part that I'm talking about, if you see in the top right of my screen, it is still spring day 8, but the seasons are only 10 days long. And once we come up on winter, plants will not live very long, they will not grow very fast, the nights will become much longer, and we cannot sleep, and a lot of other stuff will change and become a lot harder. So having stuff stockpiled so I can spend more time in my base, away from everything else that's going to cause me a pain in the ass, will be probably the most beneficial thing that I can do by the time it gets winter. As far as where I'm going to find a base, also I'm going to skip by altar for right now, I'll explain why in a second. But while I'm looking for a base spot, I'm pretty sure Jake has gone straight south based on anything that he said, a lot of things that I've noticed about him, and also just looking at the land masses in the distance and looking at which direction they kind of curve away. He had to have gone either straight down or straight down to the right, so my plan is to go out really hard left, even with a little bit of down, but I want to mainly stay trying to focus to the left. The reason that we're both going down so hard is because we know that at some point we're going to need ashlands, and the closer we are to that, the better, especially if we do something like try and rush it stupidly, which I promise somebody probably will. But I just want to kind of head down here. I want to stay the same distance from altar as he is, generally just not in the same area. That way we both have the same access to the same amount of biomes. We likely have the same bosses in case we do want to sabotage each other, because while it's annoying, it is really fun. And on top of that, like I said, I want a decent section of biomes around my base so I can look for as many different kinds as I want. But in order to do that, I'm probably going to have to get fairly far from the altar, so I'm going to choose to go southwest on the map, and hopefully I will be able to find some stuff, and maybe we'll even find some chitin stuff on the way, so we'll kind of just check in as we find stuff and as we explore. Also, the reason I'm not going to altar, I already have a portal there, and while I don't necessarily have the stuff for a portal once I make landfall, I should be able to hop up on land, get a bed down, and then eventually make a portal, and then I can teleport back to altar whenever I want to, put the head up, and I should be good from there. So right now, the entire main focus is finding a permanent base spot, at least for the first base that we'll build for pretty much the entire server. This will be our main base. Also, side note, I apologize if you guys hear a lawnmower in the background while I'm talking. I'm trying to not talk while it goes by my window, but it's caught me off guard a few times, so I apologize if you hear that in the background. Not the most immersing sound you can hear on a Viking voyage. Apart from the Viking lawnmower though, we did end up finding some chitin on our way there, so as long as I plan this out slightly better than Jake did and go with a little bit of weight, as well as my pickaxe, I should be able to get a decent amount, and I was right, I ended up getting 36, and I actually did see another one in the distance, but at the time, I could not find it again, so for now, I'm just not going to go for it, but because I have plenty for my abyssal razor if I decide to make it. I don't necessarily know if I will. Our modded stuff has a bunch more abyssal weapons that are different from just the razor and the harpoon, so I may make one of those, or I may just not use it at all. We'll see, but for now we have the option, which is nice. I did end up finding another one anyways, so I ended up getting that as chitin as well, which left me with I think about 80, but it was back to the journey to find the base, as I was getting pretty far from altar, and anytime that I saw something that looked interesting, I could pull off and look for it, and it was not long. This was a swamp with meadows around it and a black forest clearly in the background. All I needed now was maybe a mountain to top it off, and I'd be pretty much set for the game. Now, when I made landfall on what looked like meadows, I realized that it was actually plains. Now, the reason I thought it was meadows and why it's so green is because of the spring effect. See, our seasons don't only just change stuff about the daytime length and what can grow and all that stuff, but it also changes things like how the map looks, as you guys will see much further into the series. But for now, yes, this thing that I thought was meadows was actually plains, which isn't bad. As I said, if I could get something up the hill like this black forest piece is up here, I'd actually probably be fine. But getting this stuff up through the plains and not having a bed down right now is pretty terrifying to be in the plains with Trollhide after just beating Elder. This became much less scary though after I got a bed down, and while the bed is not indestructible, it does give me a decent little buffer of getting it in case I get absolutely screwed. All I need to find now for the ultimate little buffer of safety is to find some more cores, as well as maybe put my forge down so I can repair my axe and get more fine wood. That way I can build a portal, set myself back to altar, and that way if I do die and everything gets broken like my bed, I'll still have a way to get back as long as my portal is still here. On top of that, we can build a little base wherever I see fit, but for now, like I said, I just need to find a dungeon, possibly place my forge so I can get some fine wood unless I find some other way in the meantime. And for now, I'm just going to focus on getting a little base put up over here. Like I said, we're very far from altar. We're probably about halfway down the map to Ashlands, a decent amount west as well. So we're going to try and just get a little setup camp over here. That way we can't lose our progress or get sent back to altar without our stuff, because that would really suck being this far away. I headed down to see if I had any fine wood inside my boat, as well as what could I bring up. map, and I realized I had 10 cores down here. And well, yes, they're from my smelters. Would it have been a good idea to probably use them? Yeah. On top of that, though, I could get my copper from out of the boat, make my forge up here, repair my axe, and that meant that I could go to the birchwood forest down below me in the plains and grab as much fine wood as I wanted for my portals, and now I wouldn't have to worry about getting more cores from my smelters because I got different cores for the fine wood portals. After that, I built a nice little platform next to the forge, got a decent amount of my stuff put away into chests, that way I could go down and carry more up, as well as my fine wood. And then after grabbing some fine wood, I got the portal place, which gives me a nice little section back to altar. If I die or my bed gets broken for any reason now, I have a way to get back there, as well as here in a second we can go put the elder back up because, yeah, you know, like I said, I would like that. I think everybody would like the elder, especially when the last wave of people starts joining. They're definitely going to want, you know, they can grab it off the altar and get a little bit of a quicker start, especially if they're building a base. But the idea now is just to get a little bit of a base down, build it up a little bit, make sure we got a roof over our head, and I think I'm going to hop off for a little bit, but I'll be back on, obviously. For you guys, it won't be any time at all. But ideally, like, before I get off, all I need is to really have this finished, have a little bit of a plan for what I want to do when I get back, and that should be all I really need. All I need is a roof over my head and a plan for when I get back, and I will be perfectly fine. On top of that, Jake has slowed down quite a bit. It seems like both of us are kind of in building mode now. We're not too competitive. Back to peaceful mode, which is kind of the beauty of the server. You can kind of do either, but we're both back in the peaceful mode, so we're not going to be too worried about him for right now. All we got to do is watch out for a few of the other people on the server, but it's not going to be too big of a deal. For now, let's head back and put the elder head on the altar. This is where I'm at on the map, by the way, if you're wondering, but we'll head back, put that on the altar, pick it up so I can harvest wood when I get back from my little break, and then I should be able to use the wood that I harvest with that to build a decent sized base that we can start progressing out of, get some iron nearby as there's a swamp, and maybe we'll even start looking for mountains nearby, as that's really the only biome I don't have around me. Alright, so we ended up getting the elder trophy put up. We got we deforested for a little bit, got some stuff for our base, but I do really want my stone cutter before I start building anything too crazy, as well as it would not hurt to build a couple of iron things, at least in case I see Jake out. This entire series, we're going to be fighting to absolutely progress while trying to maintain a balance of playing as well, so just kind of be prepared for that. But I am going to head down in the swamp and try and find at least a couple crypts, so that way I can get a little bit of iron to get me started, mark them out. And something really cool about our servers is every 10 in-game days, which will match with the seasons pretty much, everything like crypts and burial chambers and all that resets back to how it was when the server started. The reason being, if we have a lot of people, whether we end up having a ton or not, people can kind of sit close to their base and they'll have renewable resources. That way we can continuously run however many people we want on the server. So all we really need to do is to find 2 or 3 of them and then throw down a portal at them, and I should have pretty much infinite iron as long as I'm willing to be patient. Okay, I found exactly what I was looking for. However, I did not bring a portal with me, so I guess we're just gonna try and do it. Hope we don't die, but we're kind of close to our base. It seems like our entire base, like what's surrounding us, I can see a mountain pretty far in the distance, but it also seems like there is literally swamp surrounding my entire base, except for on one side there's plains. The plains looks like it extends out pretty far. There also seems to be a mountain on that side, and then, like I said, it's pretty much swamp and black forest all around my base. But that's pretty good diversity in biomes and resources that I'll be able to gather. So as long as I can mark out portals, mark out everything, all the resources I'm gonna need, then I should be able to set up pretty much farms for everything, as well as be able to get any resource that I could possibly want. So we're gonna start that with the swamp, but then we need to explore the area around our base and figure out what we really have at our disposal. And after getting my stuff back and heading back down there, I did spend quite a while dying, but this crypt was worth it. This was the first one I had opened at all, and not only did it contain the bone mass location, which we'll talk about for just a second, it seems like it's up towards exactly where I said Jake was. So again, maybe we can do what he did to us and we can get a portal down and kind of set it so that when he goes for it, we'll be able to sabotage him, or at least be able to get something from it. On top of that, we found a bunch of chains in a chest, which is what we needed for our forge upgrades. We got a Draugr Elite trophy, which we can use for weapons here in the future, and we also got a bunch of iron and ancient bark, which sets us up to pretty much have everything that we need from the swamp for now. So we may try and find a few more crypts and mark them out, maybe even set up a portal down here, but for now I pretty much have everything that I'm gonna need from that. Upon finding bone mass though, there was a conversation between me and Jake that led me to believe that he also had the location and that it was west of him. And he thought he knew where my base is at, and I thought I knew where his base was at, so we decided to play a fun game. He was gonna ping where he thought I was built, and I was gonna ping where I thought he was building up. And we wouldn't say anything, confirm or deny it. We could just have it, so that way later in the server when we came back and checked what we thought, when we actually did know where each other's base was, which again, base doesn't really matter. We were just kind of curious if we knew what direction each other went in. But we'd be able to come back and look at that once we had each other's base marked and see where we right or where we not. Jake was pretty close to guessing where my base was, and in my mind, I was not very far off of his either. I was pretty much sure where he went, at least the general direction, but it did feel like we'd both had the same bone mass, which means whenever I can, I need to head over there and actually start putting down a portal, or at least exploring the area, seeing if he has a portal down, doing anything to make sure that while I don't really have the intention of doing it too quickly, he might. And if he does, I want to be able to be there for it because he decided he wanted to be there for my elder fight. And as I said, he set that precedent. So that's what we're going to try and do if we can. Back to our progression though, I have a bunch of coal saved up, and on top of that, I have my smelters and stuff placed down at the new base, as well as all the iron that I need to smelt. So we're going to get this smelted up and see if there's anything that I particularly want to make right now with it. But at the least, I can make the bellows with the chains I just got, as well as the sharpening stone, and that'll at least give me a level 3 forge, which I don't really have any upgrades yet. So having that would at least be nice. And I could see what else I can make with it, because I did get a decent amount. While my iron's smelting and I try and figure out what to do with it, I need to expand the base badly. The inside of my base now is so crammed, there's literally no room for anything, and it looks very ugly. So ideally I can at least get a little bit of it expanded. It doesn't even have to look good for now. I don't have to build the main base or anything like that. I might, but I don't have to. But I should be able to expand it a lot, get some like crafting station areas put down, get some of the stuff actually organized into chests, and that's kind of the main goal with whatever base I decide to build. On top of that, I am getting absolutely swarmed by Grey Dwarfs at every single opportunity that they have. While that sounds terrible, and it is right now, Jake is what it sounds like in either a area with almost no black forest, or he just isn't getting very many Grey Dwarfs because he keeps complaining about the fact that he has no eyes, especially when we get to the point later in the game where you're going to need eyes for ice cream and portals and even like blue torches and stuff like that. If he decides to build with them, he is absolutely going to have to trade me for them. So hopefully I can stockpile some of these up because I'm going to need them, but also I may be able to trade with other people on the server. And like I said, while it seems like it sucks now, it should be a decent way. It should be one of the best things that I can trade if I have hundreds of them later in the server. All right, I've gotten a little bit more of this built out, and though I was literally making such a big deal about getting a stone cutter before I started building, I'm not even probably going to use it. I might build a tiny bit of stone stuff, but honestly, I just want to build a big wooden platform, get a bunch of the trees and stones knocked out in the area, and kind of just get it flattened. And whether I destroy it and build something different later, it doesn't really matter, but for now I need to get it. I'm pretty much just filling up chests with building resources so I can build whatever I want. And I want you guys to know that whenever you see me play Valheim, and I say I'm going to just build something small real quick, that's never how it's going to go. Well, it might not be the biggest thing ever compared to certain Valheim standards because people build some insane shit on this game. I always try and build small houses, and by the time I get done with it, it's normally in the top couple largest bases on the server, just because that's how I am. So while I said I was going to build this and just expand it out a little bit, this is probably going to end up being a little bit larger than I thought. Even if it doesn't end up like that this episode, by the time I declare this base complete and that I'm going to go back to progressing, it's going to be pretty freaking large compared to what it is now. Okay, I kind of have an idea. I don't know if it's going to work or if I'm going to have enough room to do this the way I want to, but I've built out the platform, got everything leveled, and I want to leave a little space in the middle of my floors. Right now I'm thinking I would like it to be a garden, but it could also be where I put like the hearth, the cooking area, and like the forges, so we'll see. But for now, this is about how big I want the base to be. We'll close it off, we'll build it up a few stories and get everything moved in. We'll section everything how we want it. I'm not going to show the entire building process, but I will show a lot of it as we get each section done and kind of how I'm building it, but I do not want to bore you guys with the hours and hours of resource gathering, so I'll probably check in as I get each section done and kind of just show you guys what the plan is with it, and then we'll move on to the next one. All right, so I don't know how many floors this is going to be yet, but it's going to be at least 2. These giant wooden floors that we have from the Odin's Hammer and the Odin's Building one is honestly really awesome. On top of that, I have just a bunch of log beam structures. I kind of want this to look like a little, not even like log cabin, but like a little like wooden fortress on the top of this mountain surrounded by the swamp. That's kind of the idea I'm going for. Like I said earlier, I really don't want to build, I didn't want to like plan my base or what I wanted to build, so I really have no idea what I wanted this to be, but as I build it out, I really do think I want this to be something, yeah, along the lines of like a little wooden fortress on top of this mountain. Maybe we'll add some stone to it, or maybe even like some underground stone parts, but ideally I want to cover this entire hillside with this fortress kind of look and make it as cool as I can. But for now, we're just gonna get this up. We're gonna get 1, 2, maybe even 3 stories depending on how good this log support is. I really don't want to do any iron supports or stone on this, at least for this section, and then we'll start figuring out where each room is gonna go, the crafting stations, cooking stations, anything like that. We'll start to figure out where it's gonna go, but first I gotta get the structure down and finished. All right, I know it's just been a minute for you guys, but it's been like an hour and a half of building and gathering resources, and I have I decided on a lot of core wood for this structure because there's so many pine trees around my base and I was building up so much of it. And honestly, I think I am going to be able to get this ceiling on the second story and maybe even build like a middle story down in between these two. And I'll be able to, who knows how much stuff I'll be able to fit on this. Probably our entire base will be able to fit in this structure. That doesn't mean I won't make it bigger and absolutely giant for no reason. I can spread this stuff out as much as I want. All I have to figure out now is how to get this ceiling though, because that's really all I need before decoration, and the support's going to be a little rough on it. But like I said, I want to put as much core wood in this as I possibly can and make this like a nice little like wooden castle on top of this mountain. But it's coming along greatly. Probably spend another 2 hours building this, and then we'll be back towards progression, either at the end of this episode or the beginning of next episode. All right, I am onto the ceiling. I have used so much core wood, but it's starting to look really good, and the frame looks pretty solid. I want to keep the frame under the ceiling so that way you can see it, and then I might add a bunch of torches or stuff hanging off of it, because I think the lighting mixed with the fact that we have lighting mods just to keep them lit all the time is going to be something really important that we can add to it. The only funky part is going to be the corners. I want to add these little designs in the corners that I can do. I might actually extend them down to the other floor too, but the roofing corners are going to be very odd, not only for structural support, but just how they're going to work, because I have corners of 26-degree angles and 45-degree angles coming together on inside and outside corners, and it's going to be just a little funky, but it should be perfectly fine. I should be able to figure it out. It just may look a little weird at first, especially with trying to figure out how the core wood support's going to match with it. On top of this though, it sounds like Jake is starting his farm, but he has been quiet for a while, and something I know just from when I play PvP games with my friends, when someone's doing something not very stressful, like building, taming in different games, like I said, we come from a background of like Ark and stuff, or they're just hanging out at their base, they don't talk, or they talk a lot. They'll hang out, they'll chat. Once someone starts to get really quiet, it means they're doing something that requires a lot of focus, and Jake has been very quiet for the last little bit. So I'm worried that he could be getting closer to bone mass than I think, or that he could be, again, his mic tells on him sometimes by, I can hear sounds coming out of his headphones. He might actually already be in the mountains messing around with that, because if he can get something to hit the silver for him, and he already has the iron pick, he may skip bone mass altogether. So I do have to keep that in mind. And our building is almost ready, so we can go back to progressing, start heading over to bone mass as soon as I get my crafting stations and a lot of this built together. It'll still probably be 2 more hours of me building, but this has been about 2.5 to 3.5 hours, so I'm not too worried about it. A lot of that was also getting the resources and moving my stuff around, so we're gonna spend like an hour or 2 to finish this up, and then we're gonna get back on progression, because while Jake is chilling, and like it sounds like he's chilling at his base now, these 2 hours while I've been building, he's been very quiet. And like I said, I've heard a couple of mountain sounds through his mic, so I have a feeling that he could already be up there, meaning that I need to get back going before he gets too far ahead of me. All right, the interior is kind of coming together a little bit. I've opened up the starter base to this because nothing can really get in now. On top of that, I have the stone cutter, and I've built some of like the sharpening stone and stuff. I think this middle area is not going to be a farm. I think one side's going to be cooking, one side's going to be smelting, and then we can put the farm somewhere else, or build little extensions to this base as we need it. But right now, the farm is not that important. I can throw it out front or out with some gates around it, and I don't have to worry too much. But I think I'm going to build like a giant stone area in this little section with a walkthrough, and then smelting on one side, cooking on the other side. And then I will probably pick a room for each of the crafting stations, build a little storage area, and we're going to head back to progression because I'm going to need it. Jake is definitely in the mountains. I've heard drakes hit him through his mic like 25 times, so there's no way that he's not up in the mountains right now. And I also hear stone golems chasing him, and he knows from my reverse series that stone golems are absolutely the best way to find silver on the mountains without bone mass. He is fairly new to the game, but like I said, he is also very smart, and he watches my videos too, so any tricks that I've ever shown in my videos, he knows them. And as well as he watches a lot of other people's videos and learns a lot of stuff on his own, so I could be in trouble here if I wait too much longer before getting back on this. I also think I'm going to add one more story to this just to give me more room for crafting and storage, because we're going to need it. I might only add it on one side and then add a staircase to the top on the other side, but we'll figure it out. We're also going to have some decorative rooms. I'm going to need a comfort room. We're going to need a lot of rooms in here, and this will get expanded at some point, but for now we're going to just kind of spread everything out a little bit, get all the crafting and storage stuff together, including the cooking area and smelting area, build another little level to this, as well as probably a staircase up at the top, and then we're going to be back focused on progression, because like I said, that motherfucker is in the mountains, and there's nothing I can really do about it right now, because I don't even have a mountains biome located next to me yet. All right, this is the beautiful look of the cooking area, if I can get this last hearth to place. And so part of our mods, like I've talked about many times, is the fact that it stays lit and does not produce smoke. And while the smoke might not have looked terrible, this is super cinematic. The inside of this, I might put on that big blank wall like some banners or something, or some decorative pieces, maybe even some windows, but I know part of it is going to be to the storage area will be on the walls, so I won't be able to make windows on all of it. But if I can do this on the other side with the smelter, this is going to look amazing. I really like how the inside of this looks. At first, it kind of looked like a big box, and it's probably going to be a wooden fortress, which is going to have a lot of core wood and sharp 90-degree angles. It's going to look like a little box for most of the entire build, but I don't really mind if I can get the inside to look pretty cinematic with good lighting, stuff like the hearth, and then decorate it pretty well. I won't really mind if it's a big box. I kind of like how it's coming together. And while stuff is kind of heating up in the competitive part of my mind for knowing that Jake is probably in the mountains ahead of me, I don't mind to sit back and relax for a little bit, because at some point he's going to take the time to build a big base. I'm going to catch up to him, and we'll be pretty much equal. All right, well, I am messing with some of the modded stuff right now, one thing that is I'm going to mention while I'm messing with this, Jake found the trader just east of Bone Mass, which means where I was pinging his base earlier is probably pretty much right. But we have found part of this. We have an almanac mod that is really cool if you're playing with your friends. It tracks everything from player deaths, how you die, but it also adds bounties, which you can do for things, and this one will drop iron if I can kill it. On top of that, there's like all sorts of like treasure hunts, achievements, a whole bunch of stuff it adds to the game. It's called the almanac mod. It's in the description, as well as if you need the code, I can send it to you. And it's pretty cool. Like I said, it offers bounties and little treasure hunts for stuff that you can find, or for rewards that you can do based on if you have the trophy for that creature or not yet. So obviously once I got the Draugr trophy, I could do it. It shows up on the map and then you can complete it. But it's a pretty cool little thing. Because I died, I didn't get to complete it because I got killed by Grey Dwarfs, but I just wanted to mess around and kind of look at what it was, and it kind of looks like a boss fight, honestly. Back to the base, we're getting the storage area and kind of figuring out the crafting area and stuff, as well as the smelting. I think we're going to wait till next episode to tie this entire building together, and then we'll get back into progression and stuff after we do that next episode, so we'll have a lot of stuff to do. I have seen Jake running around a little bit towards the altar. We didn't mess with each other, but from the looks of it, he has some silver stuff, which means he did find silver, and I have not even completed Bone Mass yet. So if we're on while he's not on next time, we may have to run over to Bone Mass and do something about that, because even if I was wrong, he definitely is, like I said, been in the mountains. I've heard him mining, and I've heard the stone golems and stuff, so he's definitely mining silver, and whether he's shown it to me or not yet, or whether I'm just delusional, I have no clue. But if he has shown it to me, then he's definitely has it, and if he hasn't shown it to me yet, he's definitely about to. So, and on top of that, we have the trader that we need to go visit. So we're gonna go do a bit of exploration after we get the base built next episode, and a whole bunch of other stuff, but that is gonna be it for today. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm currently trying to make it to 2,000 subscribers, and we are getting so close, so if you could help me get there, that would mean a lot to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do truly hope you enjoy, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.